Well, hey everybody, welcome back to another episode at the Red Barn, and this time I think we need to finish up this new exhaust setup. What you're seeing here is I'm down to the last little bit of trimming on this piece, and the trick is, you know, 90-degree angles are fabulous in the world because of exactly what I'm dealing with here. In order to get this to sit at the height I want, which is, I'm just going to use these boards, I got to get this trimmed, right? And it's sitting, since it's at an angle, when I trim it, it moves up and forward. And the forward part's actually okay. Knew it was going to do that, but you know, that's kind of, you can see if I kind of get it to where it's clocked square, and it's hard to see. You can't really tell that that's pointing up. It's kicked to the, it's kicked back at the top just a tick, so it's really going to sit like that. But I'm doing this one-handed. Anyway, I've got to remove a teeny bit more off of here, and it's not so critical right now that I get it to be exactly where I want it. Because if it's a little high or a little low, that's fine. The fun part comes in when you're trying to match the other side to be exactly the same height. So that one takes a little bit more fiddling, but I'm going to go ahead and get this piece. I'm just going to keep going at trimming this and trying to get it fit, and then we'll get this tacked on. And then I got to work up a hanger that's going to take advantage of that hole as a mount location for something that's going to hang down and pick up the exhaust tip. So let's get going on that. If you're looking for V-bands, I would highly recommend a model. Many of them do this, but some of them have a captured T-bolt, which means you got to take the nut all the way off. This kind, which I would encourage you to use because it's infinitely simpler, has a slot in this little piece where you can just flip this thing up when it's loose enough, and the whole B-band opens up, but it stays on here, right? So you can see there's just a little tab, and that thing just, once it's in position, it captures it, tighten it up, and it's great. So it's a lot easier, especially in this fabrication stage where you're taking these things on and off 100 times. Anyway, so now what I'm going to do is, and I am just guesstimating, I'm sure there's math that I could work out, but the way I like to do it is, every time I trim this to length, I check it for square, so that then I can come back with the calipers and figure out about how much I want to take off. And I'm just sneaking up on it, and I'm in no hurry. If it takes me a couple of tries to sneak up on it, that's fine. And so I just go around here and just scribe a line on it to give me a target to sand to. And I take it down to that next level, check the fit, and just keep doing that. And now you know why a lot of times it's just, here's what it ended up being. Because there's a lot of just repetitive, you know, mark a line, cut it to the line kind of stuff going on. All right, I'm almost there, but I thought I would just say that's enough backgrounder on you. So you can see what's going on is that has to do with exactly where this thing points. So it's just a little bit, it's just a little bit too long still. And it's really hard to manipulate one-handed, as you can see. Right. This is also why when you see me talking about Martin being here, doing some of these jobs with two people is only infinitely easier. I mean, this gets, you can't, like I can't tack this by myself. You know, and I don't have 2.5-inch band clamps that would be ideal. And I gotta check level, and I gotta do a couple other things. And then I can always tune that cut if the way this all is pointing doesn't get me, you know, aligned exactly right, you know, I might have to put a bit of a cheat angle on that just to make it look the way I want it to look, which is okay. So I think I'll be back once this is all ready to go. All right, it is fit, and I was able to hold it in place by myself and get it positioned. And I just use a little Sharpie to do a set of alignment marks. And now I've got some magnets holding it in place, and hopefully nothing will move at the 11th second to cause this to come out of position. And so just trying to get a quick tack on it. It still would be better if I had a helper here, because as you know, tacks create some distortion, and of course the distortion is causing this other side to lift. So I'm gonna see, it's probably not a great tool to use, huh? I'm gonna see if I can find something that's the exact right size. And it's funny how the world works sometimes, because that tape measure is the exact right size. Put it in from this side, it'll push it the direction I want it to go. All right. And I'm just doing a quick sort of alignment check. I'm pretty close to this radius here, so the tube's distorted a bit, so it's not always going to be a perfect fit, but we want to get it as good as we can. And that looks pretty good. Let's get another tack on it. Now we can at least do some final verification of fit before we get more aggressive with more tacks. Okay, just a couple tacks on there, and we have one free-floating muffler. And if you say, well, wait a second, that doesn't look straight. It's all close here and it's all far away there. Yeah, because the back of the car curves. So what we're really going for is it straight across the back of the car, or straight enough across the back of the car. Looks like it might be kicked a teeny bit that way, but I don't know that that's horrible, because we can match it on the other side. And since we're going to use this as, well, ideally we'll use this as the hanger point for the tip. The tip's we're going to try to get the tip to do a pretty quick change of direction. This is not going to be great, but if that's the center line of the radius, that farthest rightmost Sharpie mark, we're actually going to put it like there. And so if you look down here, you can see how a muffler hanger will tie right to the side of that exhaust pipe. So I think the angle here is pretty good. It's a question of, does that look straight enough? And I can always come back. I'm not going to final weld that until I get the other side to this same spot and see what I think. Because I can always adjust, you know, break this off. It's only 2 tacks, and we can reshape that cut and cause it to tip around a little bit more to be more straight across. But we'll see. We will see. But that looks pretty good. And I really like just the overall general shape of how, you know, comes around and it doesn't get fat, you know, because the muffler's standing up. And then the acid test for me was, you can see it, but I mean, you got to look for it. And I think that's pretty good, because, you know, higher center of gravity, not that this is all about that, but look how cool that transmission is going to look too. Anyway, oh, here's the other thing that I did. With a hanger out here, the only other thing supporting the exhaust system is at the V-bands at the header. And I didn't want to do that because, you know, I just didn't want to do that. So I made this little plate. This is just a test piece to prove out the dimensions and to get the final shape that I think I want. And what I think I'm going to do is end up, it's going to be hard to show you, but we'll try, is end up putting a tab on the bottom of the muffler, or excuse me, the bottom of the exhaust pipe right here, and have this will be a thicker material, but this brace will then, it'll bolt to the tab. could weld it on there, but then this becomes kind of a big flopping in the breeze thing when the system's off the car, and I got to take it off and have it Cerakoted and all that other stuff. So a bladed tab right off the bottom of this pipe bolted to this bracket means that everything about the exhaust system is hard bolted to the drivetrain, which is what the other system was and every other system that's been on the car. And then we'll do a rubber mount out there on the end that'll flex just enough. And you saw, if you saw the you know, the chassis rock when I did the open header run, it, you know, the drivetrain moves a little bit in the car, but it's only got poly engine mounts, and the transmission mounts, the only soft stuff in the transmission mount is a poly bushing right there. So the drivetrain does not move around a lot in the chassis. And you know, I'm no expert, but I think a rubber mount on the end, everything else solid mounted, and we'll be in pretty good shape. But there's one side sorted down, and now I go to work on getting this other one set up. Back the next morning at the red barn, and we are almost there on the second muffler. Sorry for the lighting. We got the sun that comes right in the barn door, which is fabulous for working. Not so great for heat and not so great for filming. But so it's going to be difficult. But what you're seeing with all this contraption stuff I got going on here is, with this muffler in place, I picked up the level here. I want to duplicate that on this side. And in order to do that, I had to get the exact height set. And it's just a mishmash of little shims and blocks and things like that to get the muffler to sit at the same height and at the same angle as the one on the left. So I now have a repeatable location, and you can see I'm just about there. I got to sneak up on that gap. Boy, again, let me get in the shade, make some shade here. I got to just sneak up on that gap. I'm almost there, and then this will get tacked, and away it'll go. So you do kind of get the full effect of what it'll look like, and I'm really happy with it. It looks it looks beefy enough, but you know, there's still a lot of space, which I really liked about this engine compartment. There was a lot of negative space, which I think looks great. So yeah, almost there. I'll come back when I get that ready to go. Okay, back at it the next day at the red barn, and what we've got here is the turn downs are final welded, and now it's a question of making the exhaust tips. Okay, we're back at it here, and Martin has come by today, and what we're doing here is we set up a rudimentary fixture that gets us the height we want for the exhaust pipe, or the exhaust tip, and we've got a big square running across the back of the car that we've got measured to give us a straight line, so we know that this thing's going to be coming out exactly at the angle we want. And so now you're just watching kind of the process whilst I'm filming. So we got a couple of fixture blocks, we got the tube, you know, the exhaust tip in there. It's not going square. You still got a gap back here. Yes, because it's running into the front. So yeah, it's got to come out wider, I think. But you know, so here's the process of, you know, square it, rotate it, fit it, and here you can see what we're up to. Is, you know, you're gonna have to go in a tick, but this is the process of tune, tweak, until everything fits. But the good news is, so final welding's all done, and the mufflers are in position. These clamps will be rotated around to hide them. But now I'll give you the
check that out. I can weld that up.
The kind of final.
I think we're there.
There's the whole look of the exhaust. It does an immediate drop out of the muffler and comes around. You know, you can see the 90 is not dropping straight down. It's not pointing straight out. And what's kind of cool, you can't see it until everything's done, but that, you know, from the back of the car, you know, you'll see the tip going like this. So that should be a little bit of a little bit more dramatic look. And so now, mark for position and get that tacked on, pull the muffler off, and final weld everything. And then we still have to work out the mount. But I came up with kind of a cool idea for the mount, and that is, this is the piece that I had made. If you're following the Ferrari build, this was a piece that I was gonna use for the shifter block. And as I was looking at what I had going on down here, we've got these bosses, which are the original bosses that for the Boxster muffler. So of all things, we're reusing them for the factory purpose. And what I did is I just filed a little divot in there to support this tube, and then that locates that. And then this will get welded to those two little bosses, and we'll have some tabs, again, hard to see, but we'll have some tabs that are welded to the muffler, or the exhaust pipe right here, that tie into that. So this will be the rear support mount for the exhaust system. And it's super tidy, it's almost invisible. And the little bar kind of matches, you know, this bar, it kind of matches the crossbar. So there's some cohesiveness to design there. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get this side finished up. And once that's done, you'll be able, we'll pull the fixture out of the way and give you a look at how the whole thing's gonna look from the back. And no, that is not trimmed to length. It's long just because it's easier to work with these things when you've got something to grab hold of. But that'll be trimmed to length, and I'm gonna have to make that decision, you know, how far out to trim that. And then this side will be finished. So there you go. We'll be back when we have more progress to report. And there it is, fully welded, the first of the tips fully welded. Not that this is the view you're really gonna focus on. And no, it's still not trimmed to length, but it looks as though it's gonna be about here, which is approximating where the last tips stuck out. But the most important thing is how it looks. And you can see that you can barely see the muffler, which I love. And I also like the way that that pipe, again, you kind of got to look for it, but you can see the pipe is dropping out and down, which is just more style points. So happy. It looks really good. Take a bow, you know. Couldn't do it without Martin. Beyond the talents and all that good stuff, and having another buddy to hang out with, the two-person, you know, holding things and marking things, and, you know, idea swapping, really, you know, that makes a huge difference just in terms of getting stuff done, and getting the two minds, you know, two heads are better than one, and we seem to be proving that. At least I believe we are. So next thing will be just matching that on the other side, and then this exhaust system is in the books. Cool. So we still got to figure out the mount, but now you can see, get this out of the way, now you can see what I meant about, you know, how we can probably drop a muffler mount right straight down onto the corner of that thing, and we'll be home free. Those tabs are going to get cut off too, no need for those anymore, so it'll be even cooler looking. So yeah, couldn't be happier with this. Yes, it would have been cool to have the center exhaust, but anyway, I think this is really cool. It's a different look, but it's a good look. All right, well, that was another long day at the Red Barn, but there it is. And I really like it. I really like it. Now, those aren't trimmed to length, so they're a little long, but part of me says, run it like that. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, I'm just kidding. But again, from the mechanicalness, barely any view of the mufflers. Now, remember too here, the camera's like a foot off the ground. So I'm, you know, my angle, my eyeball angle is really like here. And if I stand up, I mean, you know, and until you get way back from the car, you still can't see the mufflers. It's exactly what I wanted. And it's cool looking, in my opinion, because you can see how the muffler doesn't go in and up at a 90, and it doesn't go over at a 90. It kind of ramps its way to the muffler, which I think is just a, you know, a neat little style point. And then from the inside, I think you've seen, you know, now it's just got exhaust tips. Here's the hanger idea. This is not going to be the fastener setup we use, but what I've got is just a rubber mount. You can kind of see it here. That looks like it's going to bolt to, you know, we'll make a pretty upper for it, and we'll make it so it's centered in this little speed hole, right? And remember what that looks like. Here's what it looks like on the other side. And when this is in here with these, you know, the rubber block at the top, we'll just rotate that rubber block around center until it contacts the exhaust tip, and then this stainless rod will get welded on, you know, and support the outside of the muffler setup. And then I still have to make this mount, which is going to come up and stop that movement, and so that'll locate everything. But there is, so it's not quite done, but from a functional perspective, It is. And so I think that's all really I'm going to cover of the new exhaust system. And now we'll go on to, well, other stuff, back to the Ferrari. But I'll just leave you with this teaser. What in the world is that going to be? I guess you'll just have to stay tuned and find out. As always, hope you're enjoying what you're seeing. And give me a like and a subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Always appreciated. And we'll see you next time at the Red Barn. Take care. Bye-bye.